Monica and Joey's apartment numbers. When the show begins, Monica's apartment is numbered 5 and Joey's is numbered 4. These numbers don't make sense given that both apartments are on higher floors in a New York building. As the series continues, the production team quietly changes them to 20 and 19, without giving any explanation in the story. The shift is easy to miss unless you rewatch from the beginning. Early episodes with Apartment 5 on Monica's door look perfectly normal until the change becomes obvious later in the run. It's one of the clearest examples of the show making an adjustment for practicality, but forgetting to justify it in dialogue. This mistake became one of the most discussed continuity errors in Friends.
Open up! Open up! Open up!
Because it directly affects one of the most recognizable sets in television history. For a show that prided itself on familiar backdrops, the sudden apartment renumbering stood out as an oversight. Rachel's birthday. Rachel's birthday is given as two completely different dates. In season 7, she tells Gunther her birthday is May 5th. However, in season 9, the group throws her a birthday party in February, with no mention that the celebration is early or late. These kinds of mistakes matter because birthdays are often used to anchor characters' ages and timelines. Rachel's changing birthday creates confusion about her exact age during key storylines. For example, in one season, she claims she is turning 30, but the inconsistent birthdays make that difficult to pin down. The contradiction highlights how Friends often prioritized plot convenience over strict continuity. While it doesn't affect the humor, it shows that even recurring details about the characters weren't always tracked consistently.
She would appreciate it if you didn't use the words old or downhill, or they still look pretty damn good.
Chandler's age. Chandler's age shifts from season to season. In season 7, he tells the group he is 32, but in season 9, he says he is 34, skipping an entire year of his life. This error was never explained and became another point of confusion for fans trying to map out the characters' timelines. The mistake is more than just a passing line. Age is frequently used in Friends to create milestones, such as turning 30, getting married, or starting a family. Chandler's inconsistent age throws off the timeline of when major life events happen for him. This continuity slip is especially noticeable because Chandler's character arc was tied closely to growing up and taking responsibility. By mishandling something as simple as his age, the writers undercut one of his defining storylines. Ross's age. Ross is consistently described as being 29 years old for 3 years in a row. In season 3, season 4, and season 5, episodes reference him as being 29, even though years have clearly passed between those moments. This mistake stands out because Ross is a paleontologist, a character type meant to be detail-oriented. For someone so meticulous in his personal and professional life, not aging properly makes him look inconsistent on screen.
I don't feel like having sex.
The permanent age gag might have gone unnoticed if it happened once, but the fact that it recurs across multiple seasons shows that the writers weren't keeping strict track of character timelines. It remains one of the most obvious examples of sloppy continuity. Ross's divorce count. Ross marries 3 times over the course of the series: Carol, Emily, and Rachel. However, in season 5, he claims to Emily that he has only been married twice, forgetting his quick Las Vegas marriage to Rachel.
Hello, Mrs. Ross.
This slip is significant because Ross's multiple divorces are one of the show's running jokes. Entire storylines are built around his reputation for failed marriages. For the writers to overlook one of them creates an error that undercuts one of his character's main comedic arcs. The mistake shows how Friends sometimes lost track of its long-term storylines. For a show that often built humor from past continuity, ignoring such a major plot point weakened the internal consistency. Rachel's pregnancy length. Rachel becomes pregnant at Monica and Chandler's wedding, which takes place at the end of season 7. Emma is not born until the finale of season 8, meaning her pregnancy lasts for more than a year of real time. This extended timeline creates problems for the internal logic of the show. Episodes cover holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, which mark the passage of time, yet Rachel remains pregnant throughout. The pregnancy seems to last much longer than 9 months, making the storyline hard to reconcile. Fans noticed this mistake quickly because it disrupted the believability of one of the show's most important arcs. While sitcoms often stretch time, extending a pregnancy well beyond its natural length stood out as an obvious error. Emma's age. Emma is born at the end of season 8, and the finale of season 10 takes place nearly 2 years later. By then, Emma should be a toddler, but she still appears and is treated as a baby. This continuity mistake undermines the realism of Ross and Rachel's storyline. Parenthood was meant to signal their transition into more mature roles, but Emma's static age makes it feel less authentic. The character never develops the way a real child would across 2 years. The oversight is especially noticeable in the finale. When Ross and Rachel reconcile, the fact that their daughter has not grown in any visible way makes the emotional weight of their family storyline less convincing.
Yeah, well, at least now people know she's a girl.
Phoebe's birthday. Phoebe's birthday is inconsistent. In season 4, Joey mentions that her birthday is October 31st. But in season 9, the group throws her a surprise birthday party in February. Neither episode suggests the celebration was early or late. This error matters because Phoebe's eccentric personality was often tied to specific life events, including astrology, spirituality, and birthdays. The contradiction weakens the sense of continuity around her character. It also creates a ripple effect for timeline-based episodes. Friends often use birthdays and holidays as markers of time, so changing Phoebe's birthday shifts the calendar in ways the show doesn't address. Phoebe's address. Phoebe gives 2 different addresses for where she lives. In one episode, she says she lives at 5 Morton Street. In another, she says she lives at 14 Grove Street. Both are real New York locations, but the switch is never explained. For a character as quirky as Phoebe, fans could argue that she simply moved. However, the show never portrays or mentions a move, making it stand out as a continuity problem. The inconsistency highlights how even practical details about the characters were sometimes overlooked. Given that apartments were central to the setting of Friends, the lack of explanation feels like an obvious error. The mystery of Ben's disappearance. Ross's son Ben is born in season 2 and appears regularly for several years. However, after season 8, he vanishes from the storyline without explanation. He is never mentioned again, even when Ross is raising Emma or planning his future with Rachel. This disappearance is one of the most glaring unresolved issues in Friends. A child central to Ross's life is written out without closure, leaving a noticeable hole in the narrative. The mistake shows how the writers dropped storylines when they became inconvenient. For a show about growing older and starting families, forgetting one of the main character's children undermines the believability of the final seasons.
You and I used to hang out all the time. 'Cause I was your daddy's girlfriend.
But you're not anymore.
Chandler and Rachel's inconsistent first meeting. Throughout the series, flashbacks contradict how Chandler and Rachel first met. In one episode, Chandler is shown meeting Rachel for the first time at Central Park, when Monica introduces them. But in a later Thanksgiving flashback, Chandler is seen at the Gellers' house with Ross in college, and Rachel is there too. The timeline doesn't add up. If Chandler met Rachel years earlier at Thanksgiving, then the Central Park first meeting scene should never have happened. These contradictory flashbacks create a noticeable continuity error. It's a small detail, but it disrupts the show's carefully built history between the characters. Friends often use flashbacks to build nostalgia, but in this case, it sacrificed continuity for comedy.
Yeah, so?
And now I've picked it up again.